to man. No excuses are offered. None accepted.
Welcome to the latest edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com.
Looks like a radio station.
Now, here are your hosts, lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers,
Pure athlete yet.
I transcend race, hombre.
Matt Butler,
I don't talk, man. I back it up.
And we are chock full of that, man.
Damn right.
and Jeff Howe.
It's still real to me, damn it.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.
If you're gonna blitz, come strong, but don't come at all.
Coming strong with it. We're live on Facebook Live. For those of you who aren't joining us on Facebook Live, you're getting this however you normally get it. Horns247.com, iTunes, SoundCloud, whatever apps Matt's got going on right now.
Muchos apps.
AM1300thezone.com. However you're listening, however you're getting us, we appreciate it so much for joining us with another edition of Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com.
With pads on, baby. This edition with pads on.
I'm
got
Jeff
pads
Howe.
on this time.
We don't have pads on, but the Longhorns have pads on.
And if we did, it would be an Oklahoma or Baylor helmet.
Hey, come on.
That's all we got in the studio.
I know. We need to do something with that Baylor one.
those
though.
are
We
gonna
need
be
to, like you
gone
said,
after the
let's
show.
go office space and smash it out back.
Yeah, we need to do something with that Baylor one.
For
I'm down.
the viewing audience on Facebook Live, I'm going to go ahead and venture a guess those will not be in sight next podcast.
Yeah, what's going? Yeah, you gotta do something about that.
Throw them on the ground.
No, hold up. Yeah, I gotta do that because this is the Longhorn Blitz. We can't.
I
have
guess
those
we
hands.
can't demolish them in the studios.
Yeah, we're just going to go ahead. Rod's going to go
Why
ahead.
can't
and
we just
we're
break them? Like, if it isn't anybody's, we don't know whose they are.
Tim Duncan O's, a slam Duncan O's.
Staley, yeah, those things just sitting around.
These things cannot be in the view.
Which
So
I think you
that's-
could still get those slam
Oh, yeah.
Dunkin' O's.
Slam Duncan O's.
I think
Boom,
you can
baby.
still get those at HEB.
There you go.
Maybe.
Nice.
I don't
Boom. Like your local HEB. Yeah, but I appreciate it. You got to take those down. We can't have those. I'm not gonna destroy them right now. But yes,
Just
I
set
don't
'em
want
off
there
the
to be
side.
video evidence of me
Yes.
destroying this property. But yeah.
Because this is Longhorn Blitz,
Yes.
horns247.com. I'm Jeff Howe. Let me bring in the rest of the team because we got a lot to get to today. He's the master of the soundboard, the drop machine extraordinaire, the man behind the glass, Matt Butler. Matt, how does the NCAA tournament impact you from a fantasy standpoint? Does it impact you at all?
All those sites, they jumped out of the college daily fantasy game about before last year. So
Okay.
yeah, right now they were just smart and they knew that there were some likeness things probably going on, and before that they were going to be involved with something, they're like, no, we'll just stick to the pros. So once they got up to a decent standing as just a entity to go and make money on doing fantasy, they just stuck with the people that make money doing it instead of the kids that
Cool.
don't make money.
So just the NBA for you then, sir.
Yeah,
All right.
NBA and a little bit MLB.
Cool. A man who watches the NBA, he watches all sports.
I have to. It's my job.
I think except soccer though, right, Ron?
No, but during the World Cup, I'll watch soccer.
There you go. That's
Oh.
why he's the Renaissance man of
Yeah.
Longhorn Blitz. The third member of our team, the lockdown corner of our show, lifetime Longhorn, 2002 UT All-American, 2002 semifinalist for the Jim Thorpe Award, fourth round draft choice of the New York Giants back in 2003. Spent his NFL career with the Giants, Lions, Bears, Bucks, Broncos, and again with the Hamilton Tiger Cats of the CFL. Could have been a CFL Hall of Famer.
That's true.
That's not my opinion. That's not his opinion. That's Kwame Cavell and others who saw him play north of the border.
No, I
Thought
adapted
Rodby-
to that game very quickly.
Thought Rodby
Yeah.
could have been an all-time great in Canada. But you know what?
It
Decided to get back to Austin,
was a
Texas,
smart move.
and the 40 acres,
Smart move.
where he earned his degree. If he had a T ring, he'd wear it proudly.
I'm gonna go over there and get it.
Nevertheless,
So-
he's a card-carrying member of DBU. Number 21 in your program, number one in your hearts, Mr. Rod Baby.
Also represent DB High. 'Cause
Yes.
the DBs that Houston Lamar is pumping out. Just want to throw it out there. I mean,
John Bonney and
No.
Holton Hill are on
No.
the 40 acres right now. You got
Mhm.
John Plattenberg over at USC right now. That's
Mhm.
actually 3 Lamar DBs will be in that Texas USC game
just saying.
in September.
You're a man who knows recruiting very well. It's your job. That's
Anthony
your
Cook's the number one
expertise.
prospect in the state right now. Deshaun Jameson might be the best nickelback in the state.
I'm just
so,
saying, is
yeah.
there any other high school pumping out DBs at the rate of Houston Lamar?
No, as you say, Rod. Tom,
DB high, baby.
Tom Nolan, the Al Davis.
He's
of-
HISD. He's still going strong.
still.
It's amazing.
Do you think now this is
That's
no
amazing.
this is no disrespect to
Shout
Coach
out,
Nolan? You think he's
Coach
still
Nolan.
taking like the smoke break underneath the stands
No,
during
I
halftime?
think he might have quit smoking. He had to. If he's smoking
'Cause,
now
how
still,
old was he?
then that is even more extraordinary. I think he had to quit because even then he was old and taking
Yeah.
smoke.
Was he in his
smoke-
70s when you played?
no,
Or 60s
no, he
maybe
was
when you were-
younger.
all right,
yeah,
60, gotcha.
maybe like
So yeah, that'd
60s
be
or
pretty
something.
good. I mean,
I
if
don't
you're
know how.
pushing 80,
Honestly, he's one of those. I don't know how old Coach Nolan is. I don't know
Yeah.
how old he was then. Honestly,
Right.
he's always been old.
He's like Bill
He's one
Snyder.
of those people that's never been. I've never pictured him young. Never seen any pictures of him young. He's
Like
always
Matt
been
said,
old.
like Bill Snyder. You
Like
don't
Bill
picture Bill
Snyder.
Snyder as like a young man.
I want to see a young Bill Snyder picture.
It doesn't
I bet he
exist.
was dashing.
I
bet
heard a
he was.
hilarious
I bet he
story.
was
Very
dashing.
distinguished.
Yes, I bet he was very dashing.
Coach
you know what I mean?
Snyder is a great man.
But anyway, my man Tom Nolan also great man, and I appreciate him. So yeah.
Real quick, before we get into football, just talk a little bit of Longhorn baseball. I bragged on the baseball team last week, and they haven't won a game since.
Oh, you.
Swept by Texas Tech, lost to Texas State.
Texas Tech's a really
Texas
good
Tech
team,
is a
right?
very good
Texas
team.
Tech, yeah. From what
They're
I've been
the-
told, they are legit.
They're the number 3 team in the country.
Yeah,
You're looking
Texas Tech's legit.
top 8 national seed
Okay.
type team.
Yeah.
Recent
maybe
trips
the
to Omaha.
maybe the
Yeah.
best in the Big 12.
Okay.
And then they lost to Texas State last night, which there's no shame in that from the standpoint that Texas State just took 2 or 3 from Coastal Carolina, who, by the way,
Okay.
won the College World Series last year.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and Texas
So-
State's been ranked before, and also it's a long time coming. I mean, I remember back when we were in college, Jeff, Texas lost to Texas State, and it sort of seemed like Texas State was catching up, and then there was like a decade of Texas just beating Texas State. So, I mean, especially with baseball, you know, when you got just individual performances and one-game samples, you can have some random stuff
The
happen.
question is, how are they losing? Are they losing in an
it's-
unacceptable manner?
no, it's one of the
reason to panic
one of the
already?
issues they've had is just the back end of the bullpen's just not very
Up
good.
to par yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Kyle Johnston closer experiment is
Yeah.
not going well at all. You
And
know,
that's something you can manipulate, that you can work with, that can get better. There are ways to cover it up. But you're right. If you got nothing, if you prove out to have nothing by the middle of the season, then yeah, that's a
I
true
think what they're going to
liability.
have to do is I think they're going to have to go Bo Ridgeway in the 9th because I think that moment is too big. You know, Kyle Johnston and Chase Shugart have the best stuff for the 9th inning, but I think Bo Ridgeway by far has the best makeup. That closer position,
Mhm.
it's like a golfer or anything that just
Yeah.
you can psych yourself out of that real easy
Yeah.
and real quick.
There's a certain breed, if you will,
Yeah.
that you need to do it. I
So-
And if you're going to have one struggle, you want them to struggle this time of the year because then you learn the makeup so it isn't happening, say, late in the year
Yeah.
in a clutch situation. So that's an optimistic way to look at it, but at least you're getting that out of the way and maybe can find those roles before it gets to the time when losses actually do matter.
Yeah.
Another midweek game tonight for baseball against UT-RGV, and then Big 12 play gets cranked back up again this weekend. K-State coming to town. So, anyway,
Something else Longhorn related. Can we discuss the Jared Allen thing for?
yeah,
little bit,
sure.
if he
Jared
doesn't-
Allen has declared for the NBA draft. He's not going to hire an agent.
Okay, now what's the
He's-
deadline on that? That he can, because it means he can decide that he
Well,
to come back.
they've
Yeah, the new
changed
rules.
They've
With the new
changed.
rule?
They've changed the process,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I
Because
don't know that-
now he can go to the combine now and actually work out for teams.
and still come back.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
man,
so you
that's
don't have
just-
to work out. It's great
That's
what
the
they
best
did to the
decision.
NBA.
But-
Everybody should do that. Then.
Yeah.
The expectation is though that he's going to work out really well.
Yeah.
And look, is
because
He'll be a
he's an
lottery pick.
athletic freak.
He's going to, yeah.
is Jared Allen ready for the NBA? No, he's not.
Eh.
But how many guys taken in the lottery are ready for the
Well, I
NBA?
know
Yeah.
exactly. That's what I'm saying. So everybody's ready for the NBA because the NBA isn't you have to play and be a star as a rookie league. It's a go and develop here, get paid
Yeah.
on the front end league. It's only
Get-
a shift that we've had, which is actually good for the players because you look at some of the. I mean, we've sat around as Texas fans and wondered, man, why is Avery Bradley leaving early, or why you end up having Corey Joseph leave early, or you have Tristan Thompson leave early, or even say Isaiah Taylor last year. He
Miles
just got
Turner.
signed. Yeah, and somebody like Isaiah Taylor was a fringe guy, but got to get in with Dan Toney before the season start, get that spot, and then because of injuries and because of depth issues at guard, they actually signed him to a 10-day deal and got him up to where you can set yourself up really good for the future. And Jared Allen, he looks as polished of a big man with post moves as anybody that I've seen. Now, there's a ton of great players, but he's a guy, like Rod said, when you saw Miles Turner, how raw he looked at Texas within a year's development. I mean, right now, Miles Turner is one of the best defensive centers.
Yeah.
If you look around, I mean, his RPM's like over 2 for a center, and that's at age 20.
We'll see what happens with Jared Allen. The expectation is he's not going to come back to Texas, that somebody's going to view him as at least a top 20 pick, maybe even a lottery
He's
pick.
top 20
and
right
he'll-
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think
He
he'll
can
work
get in the
him-
lottery. if
he'll
he-
work himself
yeah.
into the lottery and he's gone. It is just frustrating because, it's
Just a sport.
well, it's just the way basketball is. And I mean,
Hey, they got a D league in the NBA. You got to get paid for reps, man. As soon as you can get paid for your reps, the better. You can't knock somebody for wanting to get paid. Actually, get paid money for reps.
Yep.
Whether it be practice reps or real reps, because those reps you only got a limited amount in your life. That's my belief. You got a limited amount of reps in that sport. That's it.
Mhm.
And as soon as you can start getting paid for those reps, the better.
Yeah, and when you look across like the landscape of college and building a program now, it's just that Texas, once you have to restart the way that sort of during the end of the Barnes era, like you did during the end of the Mac era, it sort of seemed as if it was a restarting of the entire program. Then you have to do it again with the coach, put you so far behind that the depth, when you have these situations, yeah, you can get a 5-star here or there, but when they're going to be leaving, the schools like Kansas and Kentucky and that can pile up guys that are on the bench and want to be there and work to get to that point. Schools like Texas, that next level down, your guys are leaving and you're replacing them with inexperienced freshman guys and become cyclical, which is really tough to overcome. But if you get the right coach in that can have at least a couple years of success and build that depth, we saw that from the mid 2000s with Barnes, where you had some sophomores and juniors that were good players that maybe even had an NBA upside, but they're mixed in with one and doneers. And that's when you can actually get to the level that you see Kansas and Kentucky and those schools. When you say, well, how do they do it every year? It's because they get 3 or 4 of them every year that are high quality, and they may get another 1 or 2 that will transfer in because they just want
you get
the name.
Devontae Graham and Frank Mason. I think one of those guys
There
was
you
committed
go.
to, I think, Fordham or
Get
Furman or
a
somewhere like
transfer
that.
you want to bring in the same way we get it. Marik Isom, a kid from Bowie, is the guy that transfers in from Little Rock, Arkansas. So it's a little bit different.
Recruiting kids like Jared Allen, man, is damned if you do, damned if you don't. Those
you
are the
take
kind
the
of
best
players.
players.
Those are the kind of
Take the
players.
best
If you
players.
want to win championships, those are the kind of kids you need.
You want the one and done.
Otherwise, you've got to count on maybe I develop this guy. Maybe he turns into something down the road.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't, and then we could have recruited this kid. So
You worry about
it's
that
tough.
later on.
Shaka Smart's in a pinch right now, so he is not in an enviable position.
He's got some
You got a
reinforcements
point guard
coming.
coming
Yeah,
though. That's
he's got
huge. That's
reinforcements
fine
coming.
with me.
He does.
I'm
but,
actually
man,
looking much
But a
forward to
point
next
guard
year
in
compared
college,
to last
a
year.
point guard in college basketball can be huge. If you
Yeah,
find the
but-
right guy. It really can.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know that.
Texas
I'm not
would've been
disagreeing.
top
I'm
10.
not.
What, there's 6 point guards going to be taken
I'm
this
not
year just
disagreeing
in the
with you
top
guys.
10 or whatever?
I'm not disagreeing with you guys. I'm just saying
point
this
guard's good.
roster still needs a lot of work.
Oh, of course.
I think there's some moving parts right now, kind of from what I'm hearing behind the scenes.
But that's
so,
the biggest issue. Is
Yeah.
You have nobody right now that can even run the offense
that's
competently.
one of many issues they
I
got.
know.
Look
but
at
I
where
think
Texas
you know,
would be if you had Isaiah Taylor from last year just
Yeah.
sticking around, the fringe guy that could have left, but he had a good situation. You look at that, Texas would have been a top 10 team in the nation if you had a junior Isaiah Taylor with the Jarrett Allen.
I wouldn't agree with that.
Oh man, I bet they would have been to
Nah, I
start the
wouldn't agree with
season.
that.
Top 20.
I
We
don't
don't
know
have
They
to
wouldn't have
agree on
finished.
it.
They wouldn't have finished there.
I'm
I
not
think they-
trying to say that. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, I would think that they would be one of the, because Isaiah Taylor would be one of the top veteran guards in all of basketball, and you add him with a top end talent. Rarely does a solid point guard and a one and done guy not make it at least to the second weekend. I think they would be pretty successful.
Interesting. Yeah, I know it would make them a lot better. I don't know how much better.
Yeah, I don't
just-
think they're a second weekend tournament team, even
Mm.
with Isaiah Taylor. But anyway, all right. Well, we're gonna move on to football. We'll keep tracking the basketball stuff, and like I said, there's a lot of moving parts. I'm talking to people behind the scenes, just trying to kind of figure out. I think the staff is still trying to kind of figure out what they want to do. They just had the shift with Texas and David Cason parting ways. Mike Morrell's back into a full-time coaching role, so you got that dynamic changing up. So a lot of things going on at the Drum, but a lot of things going on at Denius Fields inside the Moncrief complex. Spring football is in high gear now. The pads are on. A lot of stuff happening. But before we get to spring football, we got a little house cleaning item to get to that we didn't get to last week because it came out after we had recorded the show. David Ash has been cleared.
Straight ass homie.
And I guess he's going to punt at Pro Day.
think
At
it's cool.
least he might throw. I don't know how much time you guys want to spend on this. I saw just some reactions where he's putting his health in jeopardy, blah, blah, blah. Look,
Are you a doctor?
he's going to, if he's been medically cleared, he's probably going to throw for scouts at Pro Day, maybe. I don't know. But chances are this goes nowhere. This is David Ash's way of leaving the game on his own terms. And unless he's just going to like sign up for a semi-pro league on the weekend and throw his body around, I don't think he's putting himself in grave danger as far as his health is concerned by working out at pro day.
I mean, from what I hear, it's gonna focus on punting because in high school, I want to say he was like a, I don't know, all-state punter or something like that. Like he was a really good punter from what I remember. I
Yeah,
mean,
good athlete.
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken about that, but from what I hear, he's a really good punter in high school.
He was.
And now he's thinking, I can't take those hits, obviously. So I don't think he's pursuing the quarterback. He may throw for some guys, but I think
We're on the Facebook Live. I'm looking at Facebook Live. Derek Foreman, Mr. Foreman. Shout out to you, sir. He said David Ashley is going to throw at the pro day. He's
Okay,
throw
so
for
yeah.
Deontay Foreman and all those skill guys working out for the scouts.
There you go. Yeah, so I'm saying he throw for some. I don't know if he's actually pursuing quarterback. Maybe he is. That for some people, they probably believe that is pretty dangerous for him. He had to retire because of concussions. So and concussions are a serious issue. If he wants to, work out, that's his own prerogative, and he's been cleared by the doctors. I'm sure that's responsible. So yeah, I mean, I got no problem with it. I think, listen, it's hard for guys to say goodbye to the game. Period. And you gotta leave the game on your own terms. Closure is a big part of that. He didn't get to leave the game on his own terms.
Right.
Trust me, I ended up in a arena football league locker room up there at the Palace on Palmer before, looking in the mirror at myself dressed as an Austin Wrangler, they were cool uniforms, by the way. And that's when I realized, okay, you know what, Robbie, it might be about that time. When I had, guys, who as my teammates, nothing against them, who I hadn't played with caliber athletes like that since, since I was in high school.
As you said, guys looking like me at defensive tackle.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, and Vince Young right now is chasing his dream with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. People are making fun of that. I got no problem with it because I understand your relationship with the game. It was your first love. And when you don't get to end it on your own terms, we all know that VY did not get to end it on his own terms. And I think he goes through excruciating, spiritual pain because of it. Because the guy has a winning record in the NFL. It's kind of one of those things where, yeah, he messed up, but then there were things working against him.
Went to 2 Pro Bowls.
You know what I mean? To him,
Offensive Rookie of the Year.
You know what I mean? The high of the highs and the lowest of the lows with VY. So I understand what he's going through, and I wish him all the success up there in Canada. I think he should have done it a whole lot earlier. I think he would have had a better shot. But your relationship with the game changes. I'm now in the friend zone with the game. I don't have that intimate physical relationship I used to have with the game where everybody envied me because I had, I was just like walking around with the hottest woman or walking around with Beyonce. Everybody also envies you because everybody loves that game and you have the closest relationship with the game out of anybody. Right. Even the coaches. You're playing it out there and everybody's watching you. And as you retire and the game is done with you, you start this separation process with the game, which is hard for guys to deal with. And now, I've accepted I'm in the friend zone now. It's cool. I'm cool. I watch from afar. You know what I mean? I'm like watching my ex-wife from afar. Like you know what I mean? And she goes on and she upgrades and it's all good. You learn that you have a different relationship with it. And I get to cover it as a, kind of a sports radio guy. And, but I think everybody has a different relationship with the game, how they forged their relationship and how it started and how it ended.
Yeah. And you look at Ash ending maybe as a quarterback, as most would assume, is going to a punter. But it's funny that you mention or bring up the people that were sort of mocking the situations. First off, they're at the highest level of the profession. But secondly, if it isn't even the love for the game, it's you got to get a job after college. You got to do something. You're saying I get a tryout to go make 6 figures kicking a ball around? Any guy in the world would be give me that tryout if I think I can go have a chance to make 300, 400 grand. By just going doing whatever. I don't care what it happens to be the sport and what I love to do and all that in just a different position. Hell yeah, I'd do that.
If I had do all over again, dude, I would have started trying to learn how to deep snap.
That's what my dad tried to get me to do when I was 12.
In high school, I had to learn how to do it because if you want to make an NFL team randomly and you don't have a ton of skill, that's the way to do it. That one skill can get you paid for 15, 20 years, and you don't have to be drafted. You won't have to get a scholarship to do it, but people, they need it. It's such a weird thing that it's such a desperately needed thing to deep snap. Yet you don't give scholarships for it. Nobody drafts deep snappers, but it's only a few guys in the United States with that specific
Rod,
skill.
One of your former teammates on the 40, Cullen Luffler, carved out a nice NFL career.
He just finally retired.
Yeah, what did he put in 16 years or so, 17
time.
years?
He lives here in town.
Just deep snap and not know it, nothing against it, but that's They can't even hit the deep snappers. That's how valuable they are. They made a rule like
They changed that too, because back when that Leffler got in, like you were still hitting people.
Yeah, but they were so rare, and if I was like, dude, we can't find them, and we don't want to pay for them, and like, all right, listen, let's just make a rule. Just don't touch those guys, because they're all little. They're all little small guys. They're all like mat size.
No, you're right.
just with like a beer belly.
Well, I was a little kid and watching a package on ESPN, and it was like some type of NFL countdown, and they had a special on this guy that was a deep snapper, and they were saying, yeah, he makes $10,000 a snap. I was mind blown, and I was snapping out back as much as I could. I just wasn't any good at it.
You know that punting camp they have like for the
Pro Kick
Australians and stuff. Now somebody's gonna have a deep snapping camp, dude. It's gonna be money in the bank. Nate Boyer, if Nate Boyer was a little big, if he was Nate Boyer, because Nate Boyer is like my size, and obviously much more badass than I am.
A member of DBU.
Member of DBU. I love Nate Boyer. If he was 2 inches taller and probably 50 pounds heavier, he'd made a career as a deep snapper. You know what I mean? He was just too small and compact. You know what I mean?
One of my best friends in life, a guy named Sam Hobbs. I know Sam listens to this show. He was a really good deep snapper. We were coming up, and it just happened when he got to high school. All he wanted to do was deep snap and didn't want to do like conditioning or either side of the ball or anything else, and he quit. So,
he should have. Oh, dude.
I'm out. He's like, no, man, I'm a deep snapper. I'm not a football player.
Be a deep snapper.
Laces out. Boom, I got you.
He was good, man.
Yeah,
he was good, but
pretty good. All right.
Oh well.
There you go.
Way
to make some money.
Shout out to Sam. Get to work. I know you're in the truck. Probably download the show.
Teach that skill to your son.
Yes.
Sam, teach it to your son.
He's got his son. His kid's baseball and golf is what he's working on with the kid right now.
Oh, well then teach him to D-snap too.
There you go.
That's your fallback plan.
Pick it up on the weekend. All right, guys, it's time to talk spring football on the 40. We've gotten all 3 practices. I've gotten to see a little bit, not a ton. They kind of let you see what they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually how the portion of practice we get to see. Really, you're getting to
Do
see
you
a lot.
Drills?
We see some individual.
Okay.
Some individual, and actually, really, kind of a piece of advice: if you're not on Snapchat, if you follow the Texas football Snapchat account, they'll tweet some of the one-on-one stuff.
They do.
And it's like circle drill with first day pads and things like that.
I've had friends tell me that. He's like, no, you got to follow him.
Yeah, I mean it's
Snapchat
worth
game
it.
is off the chain.
Yeah, so
I did not mean to rhyme that like Dr. Seuss, but it is.
I like it.
I'm sure Tom Herman steals that.
Spit hot fire.
Snapchat game is off the chain.
The Texas football
Freestyle.
Snapchat account is definitely worth a follow. But got to see a little bit, and Rod, before we get into the actual meat and potatoes of spring practice, the one thing we've got to really talk about is one of these podcasts, 1 year, one off season. We'll get to go through. Here's my vision, my hope for as long as I'm on this beat. And I'm not asking for much, man. I'm a patient guy. I've covered 3 straight 7-loss seasons and haven't like snapped. I've got some patience. And I covered Baylor once upon a time when they were terrible. So clearly I'm a patient man.
This is true.
All I want is one off season where we don't have to talk about quarterback and the potential problems that exist at that position.
Yeah.
Because here we are.
This is true.
And we should have seen the writing on the wall when Tom Herman, after one of the first practices, actually, I think it was in his pre-spring press conference, he made a comment about Joshua Covey, a walk-on from Georgetown, Eastview High School, made a comment about Joshua Covey maybe being in a position to push Matthew Merrick for the number 3 quarterback this spring. That should have alarms should have gone off about like, where Matthew Merrick maybe sits in the pecking order.
Instead of that guy being so great, it's like, oh no, Merrick's down at his level right now.
Merrick has now decided to give up football and focus on academics. He'll decide his football future down the road. But Texas right now has 2 scholarship quarterbacks. And Tom Herman went on record Tuesday after practice saying, yes, we are going to see what's out there in terms of a graduate transfer, not trying to hide.
That's smart. I like that.
Brandon Harris could visit as early as next weekend.
I like that.
The visit's not set in stone, but yes, Texas is definitely recruiting Brandon Harris. There's, as far as from what I know, Rod, as far as Texas is concerned with Brandon Harris, it's been kind of the exploratory stages, if you will. Nothing real serious, just kind of gauging interest and seeing if anything could happen down the road.
It's a smart move. And they've done that with prior graduate transfers, if I'm not mistaken, correct? Like, just looked into them?
Yeah.
At least explored the possibility?
Tight end's a position where I know they're looking for potential graduate transfer candidates.
Yeah, so, this is, which I like. I'm glad they're open to all the possibilities.
Here's the question, though. And I'm going to go big picture here, and then we can break it down from there. My thing on graduate transfer quarterbacks is this. Are you in a better position adding someone like Brandon Harris to your roster? Or would you be better off just investing more time in Gerard Hurt as a quarterback to get you a third quarterback?
I don't. I mean, obviously, Tom Herman does not want to move Gerard Hurt to.
Well, he's
quarterback.
running first team wide receiver right now.
So I'm just
But
saying.
he's saying, like, if
for
you
whatever
were to use him at
reason,
quarterback, then
for-
he isn't at receiver.
No, for whatever reason, we have. Listen. Tom, I'm not saying Tom Herman listens to this show or my show. I have been yelling and screaming for them to move Gerard Hurt to quarterback ever since Tom Herman came on campus. Because I was like, you can never have. Y'all probably heard me say that. You can never have too many quarterbacks. They're like socks and underwear, okay? I say just
For the record, who are the 2 NFL teams, Rod, since you got the statistic, that have drafted the most quarterbacks?
The New England Patriots have drafted, I believe the number at this point is it 10 quarterbacks since the year.
And I believe number 2 was the
2000.
Green Bay Packers,
And
correct?
the Green Bay Packers are also in the top 4, top 3 or 4.
So the franchises with Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
as your starting quarterbacks continue to stockpile quarterbacks.
And the guys before that were Drew Bledsoe and Brett Favre. And at
Yeah.
one point, remember, Kurt Warner was on that Green Bay Packers depth chart. And
Mark Brunell was there.
Brunell, Ty Detmer, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so stockpiling quarterbacks, okay? So smart franchises do it all the time. I mean, look at the New England Patriots now. They got Jimmy Garoppolo, Jacoby Brissett. And hell,
ship off the Mallets or ship off the Hoyers or whoever else they got.
exactly, okay? So it's just my belief. And I've seen it happen too many times. Look at what happened at Texas Tech and look at Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah.
And this record of quarterbacks. Just bring them in. Even 247 Sports, y'all did the research yourselves. Top 50 quarterbacks from 2011 to 2014. 50% transfer rate for the top 50 quarterbacks that signed. Come on, that's a 50% chance that one of those quarterbacks is going to transfer that you have on roster right now. And if they don't transfer, they can move like Gerard Hurt to a different position, which we have also seen on the 40 acres. Or they could just bust and be bad, which we've also seen on the 40 acres. Or like David Ash, we were just talking about, they could get injured.
Yes.
There's more that could go wrong with the quarterback position. They can go right. It's fragile. We've learned this in our history. Look at the last 4 quarterbacks, even on the 40 acres. They show you the history. And now you just had another one leave.
And
I've been saying it. Move Gerard Hurt to quarterback. What needs to happen? Sam Ehlinger, I love him. God bless him. He's fantastic. The Centaur. He probably could win that quarterback position over Shane Buechele by midseason if everything goes right. And Shane Buechele, as we all know, he's got the it quality. He's awesome. And we got a true quarterback competition and 2 young guys. But Sam Ehlinger's got an injury history as well already, even in his senior year. And Shane Buechele, oh yeah, he was hurt toward the end of the year. What? I don't, and both of them are young. I don't understand. I don't understand what the big deal is. He doesn't want to do it though, so he's not going to do it. And he's smarter than me, so he knows things that I don't know. He's behind the curtain. And not only behind the curtain, he's the wizard behind the damn curtain. Okay? So he knows what we don't know, and he's not going to do it. So look, we got to look at other options. And Brandon Harris is the best other option. I'm a Texans fan. So I have been having this conversation as a Longhorns fan and as a Texans fan for the last 5 years, I feel like. Okay? So I know. That's why go get Tony Romo. Go get Tony Romo. And then go draft Patrick Mahomes in the first round. Then go sign Johnny Manziel to the practice squad. Do everything you can to stockpile as many quarterbacks as possible because you never know how it's going to work out a quarterback. Not even Tom Herman can predict that.
Yeah,
he can't. It's just that position. So that's my thing on Gerard Hurt, but he's not going to do it. He's not going to do it.
It's so integral. It seems obvious to say it, but I mean, you have to have it to be successful. So you think the emphasis would be on stockpiling as many as possible just for the upside that's there.
And we have a lot of wide receivers. We have a ton of them. We have so many wide receivers. They're playing like running back and tight end now. Like, we have so many of them, a plethora of them. Still won't do it. I don't know.
Tom Herman wants to add a grad transfer quarterback, and he addressed all this after practice on Tuesday. And I've got this article. I'll tweet this out. This is up at horns247.com right now. But he was asked a number of things just in terms of how a grad transfer quarterback can impact things. One of the questions he was asked, would bringing in a grad transfer stunt the growth of Shane Buechele and or Sam Ehlinger? This is Tom Herman's response. You've got to win. We've lost 7 games 3 straight years around here. If the grad transfer is better than those 2 and can beat them out, we'll worry about their growth next spring.
That I like.
Yeah.
That's what I like about it. That I love. That's fantastic.
We're going to have some funny answers to some dumb questions at times.
Love that answer.
He was also asked about the concept of grad transfer quarterbacks grad transfers kind of assuming they're going to come into play. They don't want to come in and hold a clipboard. Tom Herman kind of went through the scenario he had with Adam Schultz at U of H, where it was a guy that there was a numbers game at Utah, and he was just looking for somewhere to go compete. This is Tom Herman's response to the grad transfer competition, playing time, what have you. You would quite literally have to have 0 quarterbacks on your roster for said grad transfer to think there's going to be no competition. I think they're always going to have to go beat out whoever's in that room.
Yeah. Especially the quarterback position.
And then he was asked about is he just looking for a veteran presence with 2 young quarterbacks? He said no. He said 111-1 with a redshirt freshman that finished 5th in the Heisman. It depends on the kids. And this talking about Sam Ehlinger and Shane Buechele. Both of those kids are more like JT Barrett than they are some other ones I've coached.
Okay.
So
meaning they have their natural leadership
right.
qualities.
So he's not worried about any kind of psychological or any kind of motivational tactic. Bottom line is he wants somebody else in that room. He wants more than 2 scholarship quarterbacks.
He wants a third. Just depth. I mean, just for contingency purposes and emergency purposes.
He knows from experience,
but
dude.
He must have seen something at Gerard Hurd, a wide receiver, though. That he's like, nope, they got special there. I'm not doing it.
Because again, he's been running. I've been out there for 3 practices. When I've seen the offense on the field, he's been with the first team every time.
The way that he mentally knows this offense, the way that he can then play at receiver, it seems like something he could be a really comfortable security blanket for a good quarterback that understands what they're doing.
Yeah, so he's seen, and which I trust in Tom Herman. So he's seen something that he likes at wide receiver, and that to him is more valuable in terms of his analysis and in terms of his evaluation than having a third quarterback. Right? We're saying that Gerard Hurd at wide receiver right now is better for the team than moving him to have your depth at quarterback, correct?
And Tom,
that's what.
Moving him now. It may be on just him. Maybe he doesn't like what he's seen from Gerard at quarterback. But yeah, exactly.
He hasn't seen him at quarterback.
Well, I don't know.
Oh, you mean like he hadn't watched any film?
There's no way.
He said he hadn't watched any film. You still calling Coach a liar?
Well, then you're closed-minded, Tom Herman. Yes, he's closed-minded then.
Tom Herman is not a liar.
He's not going to even give him a shot.
Tom Herman is not a liar. He has not watched any film, so he's not seen Gerard Hurd.
Hey, come on, man. And Tom, you trust.
I didn't mean to try to cut you off a minute ago, Rod, but Tom Herman was talking about Gerard Hurd after practice on on Tuesday, about why he wants Gerard Hurd at receiver right now, why they're not going to toy with it this spring. He said because everybody's head's kind of swimming just to get it installed. They want to get this offense installed as much as possible, basically get it all installed this spring. So that way, once the player-led stuff starts this summer, that way guys can go on their own and they've got a blueprint, they've got a format to follow. So that way, there's no excuse for the veterans to come back during fall camp not knowing what to do.
It's true. Good
That's when I guess Gerard Hurd on his own, if he's going to have this 8 to 10 play package in an emergency situation, at least until fall camp when you can really start to play with that package and see what you're going to do with it, what you're going to install in it, what it's going to entail. He's going to have to do a lot of that on his own, it sounds like.
Okay. No, I understand that. That makes sense. You want to get it to the point where the guys can independently kind of go through it and have their own mental reps and then have their own 7-on-7 sessions. And
Gerard Hurd's in a unique spot because he's still learning how to play receiver. So if he's going to be one of the primary receivers, and they've got him an outside receiver right now, if he's going to be one of the primary wide receivers on this team, he's still got to not only learn the offense, he's still got to work on his craft as a receiver, and then at some point kind of fit in, okay, here's the 8 to 10, 12, however many plays it is. You got to learn these. It's good. There's a lot on Gerard Hurd, not just now, but going up into fall camp.
I understand that, but we all agree transition for him to wide receiver is an easier transition than him to be a starting quarterback at the University of Texas in whatever system he's going to play. And he's been in 3 different systems for God's sakes already.
Yeah.
So just me, if it was me, and like I said, I'm not Tom Herman. Tom Herman's smarter than me. He's already seen something. I would move him. I'd move him right now, and I'd worry about the, then I'd still try to get Brandon Harris. If I get Brandon Harris, then I'll move him back. All right? But right now, I need a third quarterback. You're a quarterback. You recruited here to play quarterback. You are explosive. You know what? You kind of fit a skill set that I've used before. I would just move him and have him learn that position because you never know if you're going to have to use him. And then we're talking about how hard the offense is to learn. He wants to get the offense, he wants to get it integrated. He wants the guys to learn it really quickly. Well, why would you have him have to go through that process on his own or possibly during 2 days if something crazy happens? You know what I mean? Why don't you do it now? And then moving to wide receiver, we know it's much easier. It'll be easier. He'll know the wide receiver stuff because he'll be learned on through the quarterback position.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
You know what
Rod.
I mean? Like we know switching to wide receiver is easy for Gerard Hurd. Playing quarterback is hard. It always has been. It always will be. Playing wide receiver, I can go do it right now. I really can. I can go learn wide receiver. It ain't that hard. I know like it ain't that hard. Playing quarterback is much tougher intellectually in terms of. So my thing is, why don't we do that now? Why don't we input that knowledge right now? Then he'll know the overall offense. I just don't understand it. I don't like talking about it. It makes me uncomfortable because I like Tom Herman so much.
No,
makes
I mean,
me yell.
I
you know what I mean? Like, because I can't understand it. I can't. He must have seen Gerard Hurd at wide receiver and saw Jerry Rice. Like I saw like Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah.
Or he saw Odell Beckham Jr. and he was like, nope. I got to keep him there. I see. And then you know what? He's probably right because he's smarter than me. That's why he's making the big bucks. But I don't understand it.
Can I just kind of open a wound and pour some salt in it here with Matthew Merrick deciding to give up football? I want to run down the quarterbacks Texas has recruited since 2009. 2009 to 2015, since we can officially close the book on that era. Keep in mind, 2008, Andrew Luck was in that class. Texas passed, and Texas didn't really recruit Robert Griffin III. Garrett Gilbert, we all know what happened there. Connor Wood, never lettered, transferred out. Case McCoy ended up being a very productive quarterback.
He's a McCoy.
While he was on the 40. David Ash, we
straight Ash
talked about it. Just we never really saw the best of David Ash because of injuries. So we don't really know how good David Ash might have been. We saw plenty of flashes in 2012, but never got to see it all come together for David Ash.
Agreed.
Connor Brewer, never lettered, transferred out. Tyrone Swoops became really a package player, a boutique player, if you will, by the end of his time in Texas. And he's going to work at a pro day next week as a tight end. So we'll see how that goes for Tyrone Swoops in his football future. Gerard Hurd, we just talked about it. He's at receiver now. Kyle Loxley made the transition to wide receiver, never lettered, transferred out. Matthew Merrick, never lettered. Now he's done with football. That rod is a pretty unsavory run.
I know.
On quarterback.
I know. That's my thing. Is like that's why you just never know, man. You never. That's why just put as he won a national title
using his
third string quarterback.
That's what I was saying earlier. It's
you
like
know
he knows.
Like, I mean, that's why I get so emotional about it.
He does know.
He no, he's smarter than us.
So that's why I'm saying that.
I'm more frustrated with me that I can't figure out why he's not doing it. I should be able to psychoanalyze Tom Herman well enough to know why he is making this football decision, and I can't figure it out. Because with me, I look at those numbers. I look at Texas recent history. I look at the numbers of transfer rates across the country, injuries, all this stuff, and I'm like, oh, that's a no-brainer. You move that guy. You move him to quarterback now. Especially yesterday when I heard the news, I was just like suggesting that he do it earlier. All right. Then when I heard the news, I was like, well, no-brainer. It's definitely gonna happen now. I'm waiting on my man Jeff Howe to tweet it out. I'm just gonna tweet it out any second now. Jeff Howe's gonna tweet it out. I even checked the phone this morning early up, and I was like, all right, let me see. Jeff didn't tweet nothing out about Gerard Hurd. I guess he didn't say nothing about it. I'm sure they asked about it yesterday. Somebody had to. Nope, I didn't hear anything. Crickets everywhere. Well, and it turns out it's not happening. So he knows something that we don't know, and he has a plan. I just don't know what the plan is.
Well, would this maybe be the case if you look at him that say he has seen some? Now we say he hasn't seen anything, but if he has a feeling that he is not the type of quarterback he wants, but the psychology, it's better to not tell Gerard Hurd, no, man, you suck at quarterback. You let him stay wide receiver and just think it's because of that. And maybe down the road, I will have to move you to quarterback, but I don't want you to know on the front end that I think you suck and then now have to change you back to that later. Psychology-wise, that's the only thing I could say that made sense.
Good point. It's a great point.
Rod, I got a defensive discussion on it. Do you guys have anything else you want to add about quarterbacks? Because
no.
I kind of
get emotional talking quarterbacks. It's hard not to talk quarterbacks and get emotional.
I just kind of want to move on. We'll keep track. We'll keep tracking it. We'll see what happens. But if you want Gerard Hurd, a quarterback, going to have to wait till the fall before you see it. You will see it at some point. He's going to get some work there. Just probably maybe later this spring, or maybe not even at all this spring. It'll probably be in the fall. But
okay,
we'll see. I'll tell you this. I'm going to trust Tom Herman in the way he's managing this roster.
I agree.
Same way I was with Charlie Strong. Trust him in how he manages his roster until you have a reason not to.
Yeah, no, I trust him. That's what I'm saying. I can't figure it out. That's all.
So I do think, though, the smart idea, though, going forward, we'll see how he manages the 2017 recruiting class. I think you got to take two quarterbacks every year. I think you got to take one who you think is the guy, and then take one as kind of a project guy. Okay, if quarterback doesn't work out, we can make him a wide receiver, or he could go play safety or running back or whatever.
Stockpiling.
Just take 2, man.
Yeah.
And maybe with that project guy, maybe that project guy ends up being
You never know.
something. Hey, we're just now finding out that apparently, Les Miles offered Dak Prescott as an H-back,
Nice.
or initially recruited him as an H-back.
I love how those stories come out. It's like with Mac Brown, all the stories about Mac Brown that he offered.
When the
this
guy leaves,
guy's
how
a-
everybody dumps on him all of a
Yeah,
sudden.
he offered him as a wide receiver, or he offered him as a defensive back. He offered Johnny Manziel, whatever. You know what I mean?
And technically, they didn't offer Johnny Manziel.
No, I know they didn't offer Johnny, but they.
Mikel Thompson got Johnny Manziel's offer.
Well.
For a safety,
That's
that
pretty
might have
good.
worked out. He got an
I
NFL
know.
safety.
No, it is pretty good. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, Johnny would have. I don't know if Johnny would have worked out in Austin. In order to say it, I like Johnny Manziel, but now that I think about it, Austin and Johnny Manziel would have been a bad combination.
Yeah,
man.
Austin was part of the issue, and
Austin-
he wasn't even having a reason to be here.
Yeah, he did well. College Station did well because apparently they took care of
Oh,
Johnny.
yeah.
Like we found out they took care of Johnny in
Right.
Aggie Land. Johnny was out there
Hell, he was like
going
arrested
buck
for
wild.
dropping people
Yeah.
before he
In
got famous.
Austin-
Once he got famous, he was good.
Yeah, in Austin he wouldn't have been able to go buck wild. They really got caught up in something. So.
Just some news and notes from practice. Jason Hall, like we talked about last week, he's going to be out the rest of the spring. Saw him at practice. He's got a pretty big brace on his leg.
Yes,
Just pretty much
unfortunate.
swallowing up that whole left leg
It's
with the injury. So that's opened the door, though, man. We talked about John Bonney last week. Seen Brandon Jones get some run. Deshaun Elliott's back there. So it's interesting, though.
Brandon Jones getting reps with the first team. I'm expecting a lot out of Brandon Jones.
In the parts of practice I've seen, he hasn't, but that's not to say he hasn't.
He's such a I don't know. He's one of those guys. He reminds me. There's a lot of just ball hawk in him. He's one of those. He's a Nathan Vasher type. Like I played with these guys. The Curry Pearson's like.
I think he's a guy though, Rod, that I could see
Earl
them.
Thomas, of course.
I could see because here's the thing. Like we know this with DBs and guys on defense. You're facing so many snaps and so much tempo. Like the backup safety is going to play a lot.
Very true.
If he's that good. So if you're and Jason Hall's going to be in that mix somewhere, I would like to see them use him more as like a big nickel, almost a nickel linebacker type guy, but
hybrid.
that's a discussion for another day. But,
Yeah.
if your 3 safeties, let's say hypothetically, are Brandon Jones, John Bonney, and Deshaun Elliott, all 3 of those guys are going to play if they're your top 3 safeties. It's kind of what Todd Orlando's doing at linebacker. Like right now, if Texas played a game today, Malik Jefferson would be at the Rover, Brecken Hager would be at the MAC, and Nashawn Hughes would be that B backer. That kind of and when you think of the B backer, it's not so much the Fox where you're actually a hybrid linebacker. It's really more how Will Muschamp used the buck. You got Sergio Kendall, that buck linebacker position where you really are more of a rush in type guy.
Yeah.
But Jeffrey McCullough, and this is what Todd Orlando said, Jeffrey McCullough right now looks like he would be the 4th linebacker. He's the guy that could play any of the 3 positions, and basically he might be the number 1 F linebacker, but he's really your 4th linebacker, the guy that can come in and play any of those 3 spots.
Yeah, you'll be in nickel so much anyway.
Right.
You'll have to. Yeah, your packages will be malleable depending on if you want to go with 3 linebackers or 2 linebackers.
And think about it like this in their base package. I mean, it's a 3-4, just the F linebacker gets replaced by the nickel. When you go to the nickel package, it turns out you're in the nickel 85-90% of the time in the Big 12. And that also, I mean, you can talk about personnel. I mean, you need to have PJ Locke out there on the field somewhere.
PJ Locke is your most consistent defensive back. There's no question about it. And in the Big 12, you could argue the nickel back may be the toughest position to play in the secondary because of all the matchups in the slot and the mixture of physicality. You got to help in the run game, play action, all that kind of stuff, misdirection at times. You know what I mean? So and PJ Locke was the most consistent player in the secondary last year.
So just want to go down some other practice notes. I mentioned Jason Hall. Andrew Beck is back at practice, so they do have another body at tight end. So we got some bodies at tight end.
Nice.
He's going to be limited his first few days back, but probably, I think Tom Herman said later this week, maybe next week, get him back to where he's unrestricted coming off of that foot injury. Just don't want to put a lot of weight on it yet, Rod. You know how the foot injuries go and things like that.
Well, it's no need to rush it right now, yeah.
And then Michael Dixon punted on his own on Monday. He was a little sore on Tuesday, so they kind of gave him the day off from punting, but Tom Herman said you're going to treat him with kid gloves this spring because you don't want to get him hurt.
Okay, see, I'm glad he said that because I'm like, man, I wouldn't even have him out there punting. I'd be like, man, just go jog.
Well, apparently he did it on his own on Monday. So.
It's like he's the most irreplaceable player on the team.
Because I know what you can do, and I know you. I just need you completely healthy when you do it. So I wouldn't even be rushing him out because you know how to. It's a what's his injury? It's a core injury, right? What is it?
Hamstring.
Yeah, dude, that's one of those things where your body compensates when it
Mhm.
doesn't heal right. Yeah, you want to make sure he's good.
Yeah, yeah, maybe going by the stereotype of those Aussie dudes. They play tough. If you look
Yes,
at rugby,
true.
go through stuff. So you
That's a
might be,
good point.
oh, I'm fine, man. Yeah.
No.
So hopefully you are.
Go
So
job,
I'm just
man.
gonna run down kind of my observations from practice yesterday. You guys stop me when you hear something interesting. And this is a free story up at horns247.com right now, so
Nice.
I can share this, and you guys can go over there. And
Free
those of you
99.
listening, those of you watching on Facebook Live, yeah, free 99 is a great price. Everybody loves that.
Best price.
Watch the quarterbacks work on some drills. Go with play polish and tempo against air. The only thing notable was not Shane Buechele. Sam Ellinger had a really bad throw that the offensive staff didn't seem too happy with. Basically made him go pick up the ball since he was the one who made the bad throw, not the receiver. The quarterback's got to go pick up the ball.
Wow.
But I
Go
did
retrieve it.
I've never seen that before, actually. Now that you said that.
That's so
I've
awesome. I've
never
seen like a
that
bully
before.
do that to a kid and throw his ball and make him go get it.
Wow.
I did think though that Ellinger looked sharper yesterday in the quarterback drills I saw than he had in the first two practices. So it seems like, at least from my eye, from what little I see, it seems like the acclimation process with him is like you figured it would be, that he's
Yeah.
picking it up pretty quick,
quickly.
at least in terms of the structure of practice and how things go. The playbook is an entirely different discussion, but
Yeah.
at least
But
the
you gotta-
mechanics of practice
Yeah,
is.
you gotta learn how practice works, and
And the reason why I say that, Rod, we've seen quarterbacks on the floor. You've been to close practices. I've been to close practices over the years. We've seen quarterbacks struggle to pick up how practice works. and the-
day-to-day flow of
Exactly.
it, and you have to be efficient in practice, using the time wisely. Yeah, I agree.
Or I mean, we saw that early with Tyrone Swoops and Gerard Hurd. Like, man, you're a week or two into camp. Shouldn't you be moving a little
Yeah.
faster?
And for some of the guys, it's new. I mean, I know a lot of high schools, I'm sure now in Texas, kind of run their high school practices the same way Tom Herman runs his.
Yeah,
or
if
any
you go
college
to
program.
if you go to
you know
enough
what I
high
mean?
school practices, the good ones, that's
Yeah.
like he's not the head coach, but you go watch a practice when David Amon was at North Shore.
Yeah, exactly.
there.
So what changes up is like the specific drills, and I remember when drills were. I remember how drills are sometimes a little tough to get initially, like
Yeah.
because you don't really. I mean, some of the drills are the same drills you're doing during the conditioning and all that stuff, and then sometimes coach will break out something new, and you're like, oh, that's weird. Okay, and then so it may take a while. So I know it may take guys time to get acclimated, and who's gonna be first in the drills and all that kind of stuff. But first couple of days without pads, they should have gotten that mastered. I mean, that shouldn't take that long.
So Tom Herman said practice drug a little bit yesterday,
Oh,
which
yeah, off the
I
spring break.
wrote this in my 3 things I know, 3 things I think column,
Yeah.
which you can get Mondays on horse247.com.
Boom.
I thought that Tuesday's practice could be the worst practice of the spring because you're coming off spring break. It's in full pads, and at some point guys are going to drag a little bit. He said he was actually impressed with the way guys kind of fought through it and made it to the end. Practice ran a little bit long, but because you've got to stop and start whatever, but he was
Yeah.
impressed with it, and that's to be expected from your first practice in pads coming off of spring break. Because Rod, let's be honest, man, some guys weren't exactly working out on their own and taking care
Yeah.
of business during spring break.
Yeah,
It just happens.
it works out that way. And even when you do, I mean, football shape in pads for the first time for even those guys, I mean, that's something different too. Yeah. So I'm sure that he probably thought it dragged. I think it's just the first day in pads feels heavy for some guys. I think you'll see guys get better. What's the next practice? Like Thursday or something?
They'll go
Yeah.
Thursday, and then Saturday is the student appreciation practice at the stadium.
Yeah. So Thursday, I think will be a lot more swift, if you will.
I'm just going through some of my notes here again. Gerard Hurd worked at number 1 outside receiver ahead of John Burt. Devin Duvernay got some work. I was watching the offense go through again, just kind of some tempo on air, some play polish on air, and saw a set with Devin Duvernay in the backfield. That's something Texas is going to do with their slot receiver. If you've watched U of H the last couple of years, if you watch Ohio State, which Tom Herman's running a version of that offense, they use their slot receiver like a running back in some
Oh yeah,
sense.
no doubt.
So I saw, not only did I see that with Duvernay, but when they went to individual, I saw the slot receivers, which are Duvernay, Armani Foreman, Reggie Hemphill, Maps, and Davion Curtis. Those guys were with the running backs, kind of working some option stuff and taking handoffs from the backfield. So
Wow.
they're going to do a lot of stuff, Rod, with that slot position. You've seen how productive DeMarcus Ayers was at U of H. I believe last year was Linnell Bonner. Curtis Samuels at Ohio State. That's the type of guy they want in that slot position because they're going to ask him to do so many different things.
Yeah, and even going back to, Urban Meyer. I know Tom Herman wasn't there, but Urban Meyer loves the Percy Harvin. I always called the Percy Harvin type guy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That Eric Metcalf.
He's kind of the blueprint. Percy Harvin's really kind of the prototype.
They recruit, even Tom Herman. I think every now and then they recruit a guy specifically to play that role, and he likes apparently some of the guys. Devin Duvernay might be. One of those guys that fits that mold for him.
I get the feeling Devin Duvernay's gonna have a monster year.
Yeah,
he's like Tavon Austin. He looks like he's about to turn into.
If you look,
exactly.
If you look at the U of H slot receivers the last 2 years, go back to 2015. DeMarcus Ayers had 97 catches for over 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns. Also had 26 rushing attempts, and threw the ball 3 times. And then last year, Linnell Bonner had 98 catches for over 1,100 yards, 3 touchdowns. So that slot receiver, you're talking about almost 100 catch seasons for your slot receiver.
I like the fact that they are the rushing threats, though. That's the key, because remember I told you the nickel position is the toughest position to play in the Big 12. That's why. You get a guy like that, take Tavon Austin type, or one of those guys in the slot, and you got to match up with him. And sometimes they're putting him in the backfield, motioning him and shifting him out of the backfield. Hell, every now and then optioning to him. I mean, it's an absolute matchup nightmare. And I remember writing a column for Horns 24/7 about what I call the 30-40 club, guys who can get at least 30 rushes and 40 receptions in the same season. Hasn't been done at Texas since Chris Obanaya in 2008. Before that, it was Eric Metcalf was the last one to do it. We just had that multiplicity in that skill set. I think Tom Herman may be able to utilize that with guys like Devin Duvernay.
Your number one offensive, just a quick note on running backs. I saw Kyle Porter get some run with the first team. I don't know how much you want to read into that because it's first day of pads, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with Chris Warren. I think it's just trying something different out. The number one offensive line, see how this guy grabs you, left to right, Connor Williams, Patrick Vahe, Zach Shackelford, Jake McMillan, Tristan Nicholson.
Strong.
That right
young and strong.
That right tackle, I think there's 2 kind of pivotal spots here. The left guard where Vahe is. This is a big year for Vahe. He didn't play well last year.
Very true.
Not up to at least what you expected him to play based on the projection going forward from his freshman year. And then that right tackle, man, it's Tristan Nicholson right now. Brandon Hodges works in with the first team some, but man, I keep hearing really good things about Denzel Okafor. I just think with Denzel Okafor, they're trying to figure out, is he a guard, is he a tackle, or is he a swing guy that right now in the spring we just want to teach him both, and then maybe by the time you get to fall, see which one he fits best at.
I would like him to be a swing guy. That'd be great.
You need one of those guys, Rod.
Do you have anybody like that?
Like Jake McMillan's that guy on the interior. Like if something happens to Zach Shackelford, Jake McMillan's your backup center. And then you could roll. I mean, Patrick Hudson started to make some noise at guard too. So, I mean,
you're going to need a rotation of about 8 guys anyway.
Derek Warehouse said it, and that's any O-line coach worth their salt will tell you. I need about 8 guys that are starting caliber guys.
If you can get 2 of those guys that can play multiple positions too in that 8, I mean, that's basically like having 10 guys.
McMillan's a center guard. Shaq's a center guard.
Yeah.
Hodges can play some guard. Okafor, I think, is a guard tackle. So, yeah, you've got guys in there, and your second team line was
man, that group is young.
Second team line left to right, J.P. Urquidez, Elijah Rodriguez, Terrell Cooney, Patrick Hudson, Brendan Hodges.
And they've played a lot. I mean, that's a lot of experience. It's a young line, but a ton of experience. It's weird.
No seniors. And well, Nicholson's a senior as a JUCO guy. Yeah.
It's a ton of experience.
All of those guys have started. I think Nicholson's got 6 or 7 career starts between 15 and 16.
So I mean,
Hodges I think has 5 or 6.
And then you got an anchor in Connor Williams on that line. I mean, I like that. Yeah, I think that's going to be huge for this team that you got a stability at the O line position.
The only notable change I saw in the secondary was Devontae Davis getting some first-team run with Holton Hill over Chris Boyd.
That was our dream cornerback tandem. Remember, everybody was like, "Oh, that's going to be like the Seattle Seahawks."
And then that dream,
it's going to be the Legion of Boom on the 40 acres.
That dream turned into a nightmare pretty quick last year.
It was the nightmare on the 40 acres.
He ripped the mask off, and it was a witch behind there.
It was. I remember that. Turns out, not so. But listen, if you can rejuvenate there's so much talent in that secondary. Goodness, it's ridiculous. And I got a feeling that, was it Jason Washington? And, I got a feeling they're going to rejuvenate.
Here's the thing.
It's a ton of talent
If those 3 guys are starting caliber corners,
Chris
like
Boyd,
I said at safety, Boyd, Davis, and Hill, doesn't matter if a field corner, boundary corner. If you got 3 guys that can go at corner, man, just figure the rest out later. If you got 3 guys that you trust, that are confident, that can play, man, you're off to a much better start than you were last year.
Yeah, I think, we start to see progress from that, that group, signs of life. Chris Boyd making plays later on. John Bonney started making plays later on. It wasn't too bad. So I'm hoping that was, a trend from those guys. And now with the new staff, there really is a ton of raw talent back there. It's almost like I used to complain like Shockey Brown all the time. Like that Shockey Brown had like a first round body and first round like potential. He really did. He's one of those guys. But he just couldn't really ever kind of get it all together mentally to put the mental part with the physical part. And that's kind of with this group here. I mean, a lot of busted coverages last year. Like they got beat by wide receivers that necessarily weren't more physically gifted than they were.
K-State.
Yeah, you know what I mean? They were just getting beat. And it was like, yeah, even if the quarterback wasn't gifted, it was like, you guys are just getting beat because you're out of position. Like you're not, you're not breaking down the game. You're not looking at alignment, assignment, down, distance.
Like you talking about the Cal game when it was like a glorified 7-on-7
yeah,
for Davis
you
Webb?
guys are just not thinking through the game at times and being out of position. It's not necessarily a physical thing.
No changes with the linebackers or D-line. Your first group of linebackers, again, Brecken Hager, Nashawn Hughes, Malik Jefferson. Second group is, from what I saw, Anthony Wheeler, Ed Freeman, Jeffrey McCulloch. And then D-line, your first 3, Poona Ford, Chris Nelson, Malcolm Roach. Second group, Jordan Elliott, Gerald Wilbon, Charles Amenahu. Anything grab you with
the front? Let me see about this.
6.
Chris Nelson, Poona Ford,
Malcolm Roach.
Okay, on the starting D-line?
Yeah.
Basically, your D tackles, if you will, are the guys who will be playing like in those gaps. We got like, is it Jordan Elliott is the other guy behind those?
And then Jordan Elliott. So Poona Ford, Jordan Elliott, more kind of the 5 technique type guys.
All right.
And then Nelson and Wilbon, kind of the 0 tech nose, and then Malcolm Roach and Charles Amenahu at the end. I don't know why I'm like having reading comprehension issues today. I wrote the thing. I don't know why I can't make out what it says.
I do that all the time. Trust me.
That's awesome.
What I was going to bring up is this is a trend we've seen in the last, because you brought up, I want to say it was a column not too long ago. I don't know what column it was, but you brought up that we've also had a lot of defensive coordinators the last few years. We talk about the offensive coordinators we had, like, 7 to 9.
I think I wrote that the other day,
2010. But yeah, I didn't think about that. I was like, man, we have had
starting
like 5
in 2013,
different.
you got Manny Diaz, Greg Robinson, Vance Bedford. Charlie called the defense last year, and now Todd Orlando.
You know what I mean? I was like, that's pretty interesting. I never thought about that.
So 5 since 2013.
So you had 2 guys that basically got demoted, the original defensive coordinators, and then another play caller had to step in their stead, right? Manny Diaz, and then he gets demoted. Then they put in Greg Robinson. Vance Bedford is originally the guy. He gets demoted. They bring in Charlie Strong. Both took the same path, if you will, the same kind of arc. Remember, Manny Diaz comes in first year, awesome defense. Defense was legit, man. Everybody was like, man. Remember they were like, Manny Diaz he might be coaching waiting again. This guy's awesome. Remember all that? Remember like, man, he's not gonna be here long. He's only gonna be here like 2 years.
I remember hearing
he's
that
gone.
from
Remember
media
Remember
members.
those talks? Because that defense was really good, right? And then we know about the descent. We know how it all worked out. It ended up imploding into the point where Greg Robinson
I know
was brought
CB's
in.
on the Facebook Live. Tweet me if you got a CB. Tweet me the photo of Rod and Provo looking at the combo between Dwayne Aquino, Manny Diaz, and Mac Brown.
I witnessed the end of it. I witnessed the end of the Manny Diaz era. I was like,
man, I wish I still had
witnessed for it.
I wish I still had the screenshots of the text you sent me from the.
I was angry about it too. But fast forward to Vance Bedford, first year Vance Bedford defense with Charlie Strong. It's awesome. Remember, Vance Bedford was being considered for head coaching jobs. Remember that?
Yep.
It was like Colorado State.
Was up for
Yeah,
Colorado State.
remember that? I was like, oh man, this is awesome. This is legit. Just like we thought. Charlie Strong's gonna come in here with a defensive presence, and then after that, the trajectory ends up going straight down into the toilet. I mean, one of the worst defenses statistically in the history of Texas football, and very similarly, you had veterans on those defenses the first year. And you had a strong, what I call central nervous system of the defense. For Manny Diaz, it was Keyston Randall, Jordan Hicks,
No.
Manny Acho,
And Keenan Robinson were your linebackers.
and
That's
Keenan
three
Robinson.
NFL guys at linebacker.
Yes, Blake Gideon. Yeah, exactly, right? And for Vance, when he first came in, I want to say that group had Quandre Diggs.
You had
in
Malcolm
it,
Brown up front.
Malcolm
you
Brown.
had Jordan Hicks still at linebacker, and
Jordan
Steve
Hicks.
Edmond, 2 veterans. And
Steve
then
Edmond.
your secondary,
That's what I forgot about.
secondary was Quandre Diggs and Mikael Thompson back there. Because
Yeah,
your
right.
safety were experienced with Jason Hall and Dylan Haynes, but Quandre at that nickel, and then
Yes.
Yeah, the
Mikael-
previous
Yeah, so I was
regime.
right. Yeah,
Mikael
you're right.
Thompson kind of figuring it out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
the
right, yeah.
previous regime's talent that you were able to capitalize on. It's
Yeah,
sort of like what you're at
exactly.
right now.
The same thing too, exactly.
cyclical.
So, yeah, and yeah, so I think they're gonna be good this year because they do have a lot of experience and they do have a lot of talent. And they're veterans to this
Yeah.
extent. I mean, Malik Jefferson now, we're past the point of Malik Jefferson's young, now later. I mean, he's gonna be a junior for God's sake. So yeah, I mean, I think that now this group may be ready to have a good year under Todd Orlando. I don't know, does he play more man or zone, Todd Orlando?
I honestly have to go.
I haven't
look at
done the
film,
research
bro.
yet. That's something I'll do and go check out. I haven't looked at if he plays more man or zone, because that'll determine who plays too.
Yep,
I mean,
and then the
scheme.
longevity can also be determined by the adjustments, because another thing we saw was once those players were lost or gone away from the program, you end up looking at the rest of the Big 12 conference, where a lot of good coaching is. They definitely took advantage of Texas when Texas was depleted of that talent.
CB sent me the picture from Provo. By the
Yeah,
way.
Did he really?
I
Yeah.
emailed them to you.
Man, CV is quick.
Or man, he's got that look on his face like, I'll get
Here
it
you go.
fixed. It's Matt going like, what's going on? And Dwayne Akina's hollering to something. So who knows what Coach Akina's
That
hollering about?
is
And then
a
Manny's got to look
great
like, I'll get it fixed.
photo.
I'll get it fixed. And then Roger's looking on like, this ain't getting
This
fixed.
ain't getting fixed. I was watching Taysom Hill, the white Vince Young out there. He was like with a knee brace on, just killing it. The knee brace on.
Yeah, so that's about it for practice in terms of the notes, but I do want to have we got some time left before we got to go, and I want to talk about the defense. And Rod, we were just talking about defense, so
Let's
go
get
ahead
into
and
it.
finish there. I asked John Bonnie after practice yesterday because he's one of the players made available. I
DB high, DBU.
said, when Todd Orlando talks to you guys about the defense, what does he talk about he wants this defense to be? I'm big now. You got me started on it a couple years ago, Rod. I'm big now on what is your identity? I don't know what side of the ball you're on. What's your identity? Who are you?
Yep.
When somebody says Texas defense, what do they think? If you say Texas offense, what are they supposed to think? What are they supposed to know about your product?
Yeah.
And I asked John Bonnie, and he said the first word out of his mouth was savage. Basically, where Todd Orlando's starting with this defense, it's not coverages, it's not fronts, it's not blitzes, it's and Rod, this sounds really simplistic, but you can speak to how important this is developing the mentality that 11 guys on every given snap haul what to the football.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It's an attitude thing.
That
right?
tells me Brandon Jones is going to be starting quickly.
We used to call it party at the football. And it looks intimidating on film. And Coach Akina got us started on this, and it was brilliant, man. He was like, because what was he showing us? He was showing
Probably
us
old
film.
Miami teams or something.
It was like, it was like old man.
Arizona Desert Swarm.
Yeah, I
want to
say it was Arizona. It was Arizona. It was his Desert Swarm. He was showing us film of these guys. And then we were like, man, he's like, man, look at these guys. And they runs the football. And we're watching film. We're like, man, that looks ridiculous. Like he said, now picture you as a quarterback or the opposing team's offense watching this film and thinking to yourself, holy Chicago, I don't know what the hell we're gonna do. That play ain't gonna work. What are we gonna do? He said the intimidation starts. He said it starts when they watch the film on you.
No, how would Dwayne Akina say that?
No, he said.
Come on, Rob.
I don't want to drop any bombs, so I got to be careful.
Oh, yeah.
The intimidation starts when they turn on that and film. That's when it starts. They're going to see Rod Davis and they're going to go, holy, I got no chance. I got no chance. This guy's going to eat me alive.
That's going on at Stanford right now, folks.
That is going on at Stanford.
Yes.
But it blew my mind. I thought, damn, he's right. He's right. Like if you want the opposing offense to be intimidated, it starts on that film. That's where they respect you, and they'll come out in that field, and you'll see in their eyes like, yeah, this group's ready to go. So I think you got to get that in their mentality. They want to put something on film that they're proud of. And some of these guys last year, that was a big thing. I'm sure they weren't proud of what they put on film out there. So that's an easy motivational factor for these guys. You can turn on their film and then turn on the film of the defense that you want them to be. They have some plays here and there where they look like the defense you thought they could be. And then I think you show them that. That's where it starts to me. That's where it flipped the switch for me.
The one thing I really like about this coaching staff is, man, when you're, I was having a conversation with some of my fellow writers between the open session of practice that we got and then the time we had to go back really across the parking lot for the media availability. And the conversation, I don't know how it got started on somebody saw something on CNN, and then somehow we got to Charlie Strong. I don't remember how we got there. But one of the writers, I was kind of going through some stuff, and he kind of said, so basically what we can surmise is, not so many words, like Charlie was worried about everything but stuff that was actually going on the field sometimes. Like, quarterback, we'll figure that out. We need a kicker. We'll figure that out down the road. This special teams, that take care of itself. Don't worry about that. Don't sweat the details. Yeah. That's what it seemed like. That's the perception that was created. Yeah. The perception that this staff is creating is we'll fix the mistakes in the film room. When we've got more time, we will coach you. But when you're on this practice field, all we demand is that you go 100 miles an hour as fast as you possibly can and give a max effort. Basically taking the stance that you can't coach effort.
Yeah.
Like, as a player, the one thing you can control is how hard you go. The coaches get paid to correct stuff in film and teach you how to watch film and evaluate film properly. They'll take care of that later. But they're going to demand that you just run to the ball hard. And Rod, like you just explained, that's something that sounds really simple, but hasn't always been done around here defensively consistently for a long time now.
I think I really do. I think it's going to come back down to the film room. I mean, that's when you call people out. I remember being when I had a bad play coming up, and you got a bad play coming up in like the game or practice, like that's feeling in my stomach, like that pit in my stomach, like, oh hell.
Whether you're high school, college, or the NFL, if you're in a film session, you know the point of the film when it's coming.
Yeah, and your coaches got to learn to dig into you then, because I got to the point now I just didn't want to put anything bad on film at all, and then I wanted to always be that guy, that I was on film. I'm out running everybody to the football. So I understand what they mean about effort. I mean, that was big for us. I mean, that really was, and it's crazy how many plays that you can make surely by just being around the football,
right,
and just having a ton of guys that are just going all out to the football. So I understand what they're saying. They're saying, especially on defense. Listen, defense, we have already proven. I'm writing about it at horns247.com. There ain't really anything that teams are doing in particular, specifically to stop these offenses these days,
right?
Especially in the Big 12. They're not. Nobody's really successful at stopping these offenses. What they're doing is they're playing high risk or high reward defense, and they're just finding a way to make enough plays to give our offense back the football.
Kind of what Todd Orlando said is going to be the mentality of Texas. Like, hey, we're going to blitz. We're going to try to get sacks, plays behind the line of scrimmage, because that's how we're going to win.
Right? I'm not going to sit back and die the death of 1,000, knives and paper cuts. It ain't going to happen. So I think that's what you're trying to get, that mentality, that attack mentality in these guys, that, you can always go out there and make a play. And they got enough athletes, man. If you get them running to the football and sprinting to the football, and then always get the guys where they're in the right place at the right time, man, this can be intimidating. We talked about a guy like Malik Jefferson running to the football. When you see him actually run to the football, the few times we saw it last year, and I'm saying it blows your mind. It's like, oh, what is that? It looks like something freakish,
moving on ice skates through the field.
Yeah, and you got a couple of guys like that now. Brecken Hager's got some of that in him. Like, their pursuit to the football is amazing.
I'll bring something up to you though while we got time. And I'll give props to Max Olson's the one who asked it and brought the stat to my attention. I had to go back and look, and I haven't looked, but it sounds right. So I'll take Max's word for it. Do you know how many non-offensive touchdowns Texas had last year?
Oh, probably. We scored on defense, right? We scored on defense once, didn't we?
How about none?
0? Yeah, you're right about that.
We should have scored. No, you're right.
No, we didn't score.
No non-offensive touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like what?
Return game is all time bad.
Right.
Yeah, Haynes got tackled inside one.
Defensively, right. And I don't mean to make this sound simplistic, like it's some kind of a rah-rah thing, but if you've got more hats around the ball, you've got more hands around the ball. Man, if you got 3 sets of hands instead of 1, somebody's probably going to pop a ball out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going to be able to hold the guy
Well,
up and
that's
go
when
for the
you'll be in
strip.
the right place at the right time for the oblong ball to bounce
Like
wherever.
that's the
Yeah.
things like you hear defensive. If you're around enough practices, regardless of what level, high school, college, NFL, you'll hear. And Rod, I'm sure you've heard this. Hey, 2 guys get there, hold the guy up. The 3rd guy come in, go for the strip. Get a hat on it, get a hand on it. Your job is to go for the strip.
Yeah.
That can't happen if you only got 1 guy around the ball.
Yeah. Party at the football. That's what we used to call
But
it.
that's
Yeah.
again. It sounds like such a
It is. No,
simplistic, like
no, it
non-intellectual
sounds like something
way
you're
of.
talking to middle school football
Right.
kids about. Get to the football. You got to run to the football. Like, no, it is that simple. You run to the football, and good things happen.
That's
And
how you.
this is-
That's how you get a fundamentally unsound defense when they don't do simple things like run to the
You
football.
got to be in really good shape to run to the football too. I
Yeah.
will say that, especially in today's game. And that's another thing. If you don't know, run to the football, it sounds great. And plays 1 through 6, and then 7, 8, 9, running to the football, it gets a lot harder. And that's when, you got to call guys out like, hey, man, you missed the party at the football. Why you ain't there? I mean, you got to get on guys. I'm sure Charlie was doing that, but, I mean, we saw there were, Manny Acho called him out several times along on Network. There were instances of guys loafing at times, So, yeah, I mean, I agree. That's something simple, but that's something you can teach right now early on. And plant deep in their subconscious that I can judge these guys on their effort, and I don't have to judge them on technique
Right.
and look at their, and analyze, their coverage skills and all this kind of stuff. I literally can go, who's busting their ass?
Mhm.
Who's busting their ass to get to the football? Oh, that guy's busting his ass to get to the football. You know what I mean? Like, that's easy to evaluate. And I think that's where they're at right now. They want to see who wants it more. Who wants it more? Who wants to impress me? I'm a new coach here. The slate is clean. I don't know what the hell you meant to Charlie Strong, and I don't care what you meant to Charlie Strong. Who wants this position? It's up for grabs. You want it? You can take it. I'm offering it to you on a silver platter. Everybody who's complaining about, their situation before, or even complaining about the state of the program, here is your chance to change it. How bad do you want to change the program? How tired are you of getting your ass kicked? All right? How tired are you of being a laughingstock of the Big 12? How tired are you of the jokes the Aggies keep throwing at you, and Baylor and TCU? Are you ready finally to shoulder the burden of the pride and the winning tradition of the Texas Longhorns? Do you know what it means now? Do you know? I think you know now what it means. So that's what I think they want to see. Are you ready for it? Because they're ready. Tom Herman and his staff are ready. He's been waiting for this his whole damn life.
Yeah.
This is what he's been waiting on his whole life. He's ready.
And I like how you bring up so obvious, and these are the little things that we talk about over time that can add up, because I remember one of the best things I ever learned from a boss up front was communication is key. Just communicate with me, and then we're on the same page. Therefore, down the road, whenever something comes up, as long as, we communicated about it, we know what happened, what will be the case. Just making sure this precedent is there about the effort. It seems obvious to put it out there, but these are those little tiny details that over time add up to being that sum of parts that is not a whole that you saw by the end of it with the Charlie Strong regime. And Charlie maybe just assumed that, or even to say that Charlie's teams weren't given effort maybe isn't the safest thing to do, but just to see that you have this precedent set with the players to be able to build upon it going forward, it really does lead to that leadership thing that we talk about, and organizational skills, and making sure that the communication's there, and you start that from your foundation. And we were most critical of Charlie's leadership opportunity, so who knows, maybe this would be something, a little tiny shift.
Rod B, I've never asked you about this, but this seems like because you brought his name up, it seems like a perfect kind of segue. When you're watching games, when you and Manny Acho were in the LHN studios on road games, Manny Acho was a part of really good defense of the Texans under
Yeah, he
Will
was.
Muschamp,
Yeah.
2011 under Manny Diaz.
He was awesome.
Or you did
Don't tell him that though.
Or you did the Coach's Cabana thing with Coach McWilliams, who he's got some rings and numbers on the wall.
Great stories, man.
Dan Neal's got numbers on the wall.
Super Bowl wings too.
When you guys are watching that and you see the perception is guys are loafing, guys aren't running the football, guys aren't passionate about what they're doing, whether they're confused or not.
Mhm.
It's what it looks like.
Yeah.
How frustrating is that for you guys that have done it and have done it at a high level and succeeded at a high level, just to see the perception that these guys don't look like they're interested.
It's a great question. I would say because we're always doing stuff. We're either doing television or even Coach's Cabana, where we're doing like a streaming service. The anger like before the guys come on or while they're watching the actual game is unbelievable. Like I'm sorry,
Couldn't
like,
be further from what you see on camera.
It couldn't. Everybody's so calm, cool, and collected, and I had to get
Professional.
used to that because on radio you can kind of just randomly rant and be crazy. The crazier, the better. And it's amazing.
Not as starch.
You had to get to compose yourself because it is those guys. It is a family affair. It really is like and it's almost like watching. It's almost like a sad family like incident or a circumstance where you're just watching like a family member of yours who's like got a drug problem or a family member of yours who's like in a really bad relationship or like a bad marriage or something. You know what I mean? Like you're watching, and then everybody in the family, you just kind of watch it and you're just trying to figure out solutions. And that's how it is. But it's really emotional.
Right.
Like everybody there is emotional about it. And you get to the point where I'm not naming this to anybody because I'm included on this too. Where some of you are like, man, he's got to go. It's got to go. Damn it, it's over. He's got to. I don't know. How is he making this money? How is he doing? I mean, these guys are getting emotional about it. And then guys are like, you know what? I think we got to be more patient with this team. Like it's an emotional roller coaster. You know what I mean? 10 minutes is one way, and so it's
like that little John Chappelle.
Yeah,
shit.
it really is. It's one of those things where, and I've been hanging out with the family, watching games in one way, form, or fashion for a long time, and a lot of it's been through this bad period post that 2009 national championship run. And man, it's really strange how the Longhorn fan base has kind of turned into this. It's kind of battered fans. It's like abused fans. Like they now expect the worst. And Matt has talked about this too. Psychologically, Longhorn fans used to always expect to succeed. Like it was this sense of entitlement. Like no.
Confidence.
We are Texas. You realize, look, we are Texas. What are you talking about?
Like somebody is passionate.
Delusional.
Somebody's passionate as Brooks, and we love him, Brooks.
Oh, Brooks is the man.
Brooks.
Yes,
he's a
perfect example. Of
I don't know how Brooks does color for games.
Oh, he does a great job of flipping the switch.
It shows you how much of a friggin' professional he is. Because I can imagine, like when he sees bad technique or guys loafing, because of who Ahmad is, I can imagine it's just like raging inside.
I forgot who his partner was. He was calling like FCS playoff games, and his part after we lost to Kansas.
Yeah,
and his play-by-play partner, he
Anish
posted
Shroff.
a video of Brooks after it, and I lived with Brooks. I know him very well. Genuinely, like heated at 10. I mean, he is. I mean, I was like, dude, I don't know if he's going to be able to go on and conduct himself in a professional manner. He, of course, did, but he was livid. Like, you could tell. Like, I think he told me at one point, like, turn it off, man, I'm done. Like, it was like he genuinely, because it affects you. It's like watching, and then but still, in that industry, too, you have other people that Dan Neal's the case, Manny Achill's the case, that are also, talking trash to you, too, and talking smack via Twitter and social media. No, but the problem these days is you're bad, and everybody will let you know how bad you are. All right? Like, that's part of it, too. So I think psychologically, it's just like Longhorn fans now kind of expect the worst. And we got to flip that now, because now Longhorn fans, I don't think, are at the point now where they used to be as optimistic as they were. And rightfully so. They've been burned a lot. It burned a lot. So I understand the ones who are now cautiously pessimistic.
I've seen people, we post stuff on Facebook, on our Horns 24/7 Facebook page. And I see, whatever the article or whatever we're posting a picture or a meme or whatever. I see people all the time like, man, I'm looking at a response right here, just burnt out on the hype.
Yeah, I mean, they really do think now it's like it's weird. To me, it's kind of how the Longhorns and the Cowboys have had these very similar paths and trajectories where the brand is still recognizable and the brand is still at an all-time high value, but yet they haven't been winning on the field. Now, the Cowboys recently have shown signs of promise with Dak and all that.
I was in the 6th grade the last time the Cowboys won an NFC Championship game.
And the Longhorns are very similar, right? They're like, well, yeah, VY's now in Canada playing football last time. He was the guy that was, the leader last time we won a national title. So I think, and Tom Herman is signs of hope, and Shane Buechele and all that's kind of signs of hope for Texas. So I really do think they're on similar paths. But I've noticed the fan bases psychologically,
Right.
Cowboys fans, man, they just don't trust.
yeah.
They don't trust this good fortune. They think something bad is
I'm in
gonna
that boat.
happen. Yeah, they're like, nah, the Cowboys are gonna screw this up. Jerry Jones is gonna screw this up. I don't know how he's gonna screw it up. He's gonna screw this up somehow. And I'm
Yes.
like, how's he gonna screw it up? They're like, look at it. And I
Watch
mean,
it.
they just
It'll happen.
And I'm like, okay, but Longhorn fans are very similar. They're like thinking like, man, nah, it's something, they're gonna screw this up. Like the Longhorns can't get it back on track. The Longhorns will get it back on track. But I just think it's a long road for the fan base. And I understand. That's why we've been here to kind of help them through it. You know what I mean? We have therapy for them.
It's about the only way to do it. Talk about it. Get your way through.
There you go.
Yep. And I believe we're done talking about it for this week, gentlemen.
That's it? That was it? That
It
flew
flew,
by.
it flew by.
That one did go by actually pretty fast.
Yeah.
Dang.
It's already time to roll. Matt, appreciate everything, sir.
Oh, you are more than welcome.
Rod, B, appreciate the time and the knowledge.
Anytime, brother, anytime.
For Matt, for Rod, for Travis, the best damn videographer in the podcast game. For everybody at AM 1300 The Zone, AM1300thezone.com, where you can hear this podcast each and every week. And thanks to Matt, you get us on iTunes, TuneIn, SoundCloud, any kind of podcast app
Yep,
out
just
there.
type in Longhorn Blitz.
For the Zone family, for the Horns 24/7 family, I'm Jeff Howe. Thank you so much for downloading and listening, and we will catch you again on the next episode.
You've been listening to Longhorn Blitz with horns247.com. Remember, for the latest Longhorn news 24/7, visit horns247.com.